Hello, I'm Nicholas Love, Chief Executive Officer with the Kulur Group, and welcome to another edition of With Love. Joining me today is another of the top 25 dope thinkers for 2025, and trust and believe she fits the bill. Aniesia Williams, thank you for taking the time to join me today. I really appreciate it and looking forward to this conversation.
Likewise.
Absolutely, absolutely. So a little bit about Aniesia, experience with CBC agency. She spent some time with Edelman, with Black Girls Code, Solve Innovations Group, Real Chemistry, most recently Epigen, and she is now the founder and CEO of dreambloc, which has some really dope things going on, particularly as we talk about solving for the generational wealth gap and certainly putting people in position to be able to really drive succinct and sustain change for generations to come. We'll get into that a little bit later, but I gotta kick this episode off with this first question, and that is, what do you do the most with love?
Hmm. I would probably have to say I give the
Hmm.
most love.
Hmm. Tell us more about that,
Yeah.
babyface.
um, I give from the heart. And be it if it's giving tough love or if it's, giving, support, giving help, giving advice. But everything I do, I try to do within that lens of love.
Hmm. Some of those really kind of play a role in kind of dream block.
It
And
does.
I think that's a perfect segue to really first and foremost introduce, for those who may not be familiar with dream block, what it is, its mission, its origin. So let's kind of get into that. Tell us more about dream block.
Yes. So Dream Block actually is a labor of love, like honestly. As we you had introduced before, I actually had an acquisition, AW Plus Co. That was done through Epigen, and so inside of that, I stayed on for a year to complete the acquisition. But I also wanted to develop something that I could actually park somewhere to still be able to give back to this community that allowed me to have an exit. So Dream Block functions two different ways. So one, we help growth stage founders to be able to scale, to grow, and eventually if they want to sell or get acquired, those things as well. On the other side, we function as a fractional head of platform or venture relations for family offices, the VC community, the whole ecosystem, if you will. And inside that, we have our Dream Wealth Camp, which is a part of our ecosystem building. And this camp is for growth stage founders. Again, a give back. It's twice a year, and where we bring about 50 folks, about 25 investors, 25 founders together for them to be able to meet intentionally, to get through the things that they need to get through. Be it if it's, I need a new go-to-market strategy, or we need to hire for the next stage of capital that we just raised, or we're trying to close our series A, and we need someone else to come on, or hey, like I need alternate means of income. I don't want to do venture. I don't want to give any more equity out. So what are those partners that can be able to fund this business so that we can continue to scale and to do those things? Then on the other side, it's, well, where should we go? We do have money to expand and to invest, but who do we do those things with? Who are those founders that are overlooked, that do have revenue, they do have customers, but maybe they need just a little bit more hand holding to get to the next stage inside of their journey. We want to do impact investing. We want to do things that make us feel good but also impact the bottom line. So what community should we be in? What should we be looking at? And then we also have folks that's like, hey, like we are doing a conference, and we need someone to come in and to curate this space so that the right people are in the room and that there is something tangible that people can walk away with. And, Aniesia, can you, your team do that? And so that's everywhere from, like I said, summits to board meetings, to retreats, you name it. So we are in the ecosystem spaces that folks want to be in, and not just diverse spaces, but spaces across the board. For me, I have an affinity for women founders, for women executives and things of that nature, because I know that plight. I've gone up and down the corporate ladder, so I know what that looks like. And so I'm always going to have an affinity for dope women that are doing dope things and that are trying to change the world. So like I said, that's what dreambloc is. Dream Wealth Camp, like I said, that's what the camp is. And inside of that, I'm still giving back, where I'm a mentor for Techstars, Building Tulsa, Goody Nation, Camelback Ventures, and the list goes on and on. So, like I said at the beginning, I do things out of love, and I grow and I build things out of love, until I can figure out, what's the next for me? Like, where is the next place that I want to make a significant amount of change, and to invest in. So until then, I give through dreambloc, and we do dope things.
Yeah, I mean, so let me tell you what I hear when you say that. And I hear three words that are coming to me right now. I hear community, I hear connection, I hear experience. Why are those three things so important to you?
Well, they are important because there is a gap inside of our space. You have a lot of spaces to where, let's take it from a founder perspective. There are so many accelerators out there that like to help you figure out what your, a product is, help you to get a MVP, help you to get your first, bit of funding. Even from a career perspective, you got internship programs, you got apprenticeship, like you have all the things there, right? But when you look at those folks who do have experience, but maybe they're like middle career wise or what have you, or even from a founder perspective, like, okay, they have customers, they have those things, but still there are different issues and nuances and things like that they go through that someone else starting doesn't have. And that always seems to be the gap. And I don't care what sector I am in, I don't care, what type of work that I'm doing, it always seems to be a gap there to how do you get to that next stage, if you will, if you have experience, and you know what you're doing, but who are those people that are going to be able to take you and actually sponsor you to do the things that you need to do? Who are the right, not even necessarily connections, but who is going to take ego out of themselves to be able to push and pull and grab and take along at the same time. And so I just think about my journey and the journey that I've taken, and I'm always like, well, how can I make somebody else's journey a lot better than what my journey has been? Because we don't have to be in this struggle thing. Like, I don't know what this this perception is, that if you're not struggling to make it, like, then you're not whatever. And I'm just like, no, like, it doesn't have to be that way. You do not have to struggle in order to provide for your family. You do not have to struggle in order for you to be able to build your business. Like, that is not a prerequisite if you are successful or not, of how bad you struggled and how bad you had to go it along. Like, that is not it. And so, like I said, everything I do is from that lens, and I try to center my work inside of there. And if I can't be able to assist and help, then I make sure that I have somebody inside of my block that is able to be able to do that, and we push and pull. So we don't hoard contacts over here. We do not hold the relationships. Like, we don't do that. We don't gatekeep over here. And so, those are the things, like I said, that I do. And that's why those three things, what you mentioned, are important to me, and how I wrap those things into the things that I do.
I want to go back to, you talked about your journey, right? And I'm a big fan of Dr. Linda Gonzell, who's a behavioral psychologist at the University of Chicago Booth School of Business. And a few years ago, she came out with a leadership workbook called Choosing Leadership. And I've let my teams kind of go through, some of the exercises as a part of the workbook. I have some of
Mhm.
my students kind of going through it. And one of the really powerful stanzas in that book is really talking about the differences between happenings and experiences.
Mhm.
You often hear we're shaped by the experiences we have in life. Well, you're really only shaped by that if you've processed what actually occurred. Because if
Correct.
you haven't processed it, then it just happened.
Correct.
And so I would love to kind of unpack at a deeper level when you talk about your journey and
Mhm.
really, what's kind of been that motivating factor to want to prepare the next generation of, your affinity group. We talked about women, particularly Black women, right? And not having to kind of go through, the struggle bus and to that extent. What Talk to us a little bit about your journey, right? And kind of what was that occurred for you that said, this is my purpose, this is what I'm leading in on.
So I'm probably going to say some controversial things here, but
Oh,
I
well, we do
think,
this with love, right?
yeah, because I think that is not talked about and is often glossed over. And to not to seem like, you don't support or whatever have you, people just don't say anything, but yet they suffer in silence. And so, when you talk about my journey, it I would definitely say that the journey has been a lonely journey.
Mm,
And even through the way that I grew up, I had no choice but to lead. There wasn't an option for me not to. And it was literally life or death if I did not step up and do the things that I needed to do. And so, even as I went through my career inside of that, I didn't walk in it in fear, like, ever. Anything that I said, hey, I want to do, like, I did. I said, you know what, I want to be a personal banker. I did that. I said, you know what, I want to learn how to, sell insurance and securities, and like, I want to learn all of that, and I did that. License series 6, 63, 7, like, all the things, right? So, like, there's been nothing that I said that I wanted to do that I did not, do it. However, did it probably take me longer than most people? Yeah, because one, I operate in integrity. And so anything that was going to, get me there, quote unquote, faster, that also sacrificed my integrity, I said, nah, like, I'm not going to do that. Um, when you are young and you are very, bright and ambitious and things like that, being around people that don't understand that or internalize it as other things because they have insecurities within themselves, it is not easy to be able to do. And so, I will I say I have an infinity for women, because the most harm that I've ever had in in my career has been by the hands of Black women, unfortunately.
mm,
And so my biggest supporters have been, other races of women that have said, you know what, like, let me see if I can X, Y, and Z, or let me, see if I can introduce you to, X, Y, and Z, right? And unfortunately, like, that's been my experience, unfortunately. And as I have grown and gone up the corporate ladder, it has gotten worse and worse
mm,
and worse. As the saying say, it be your own people, right?
mm,
Now that doesn't still not make me want to still, like, figure it out or still try to help other Black women as much as I can and things of that nature, because I'm still going to be me, and I'm still going to try to break through as much as possible. But it's now at a later age, and career wise, it's where can I do the most and where can I help the most, right? And more importantly, where do they want it the most? So, I don't enforce my will on anybody. I don't try to make somebody see. I don't try to, I gotta prove to them that I X, Y, Z. Like, I don't live in that space anymore. And as I was, moving up and things like that, those are the things that I had to do. I'll never forget, I went inside, and I won't mention which company, but it was my first SVP role at that level. And there was another person of color. She had been there for a little bit longer, and her role was higher than mine. But, she pretty much was like, hey, like, I'm the only one on this bus. So, like, you stay in your office and I'm going to stay over here in mine. And also, too, it was like, well, you need to make sure that you're dressed appropriately. Mind you, I had a whole suit on, heels, like, and I'm thinking I'm good. And she was like, well, you need to have your starter pack. Where's your Louis Vuitton purse? Where's your da 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 da? So it was like, in their mind, like, because I didn't come labeled up, I wasn't prepared for executive leadership, and I wasn't prepared to sit in those rooms because I didn't have on a pair of red bottoms. And again, like I said, as cliche as we think that it is, when you look at these the younger generation, that's what they think that they gotta do. That's what they think that they have to be. That's how they have to show up, or folks won't be able to take them seriously. And I'm just like, my God, it's not about the clothes that you have on. You have these young folks going into debt, trying to floss and trying to do whatever it is that they do for the gram, whatever it is they do for the TikTok, and not understanding that means absolutely 0 cents. I sit in rooms with millionaires all the time that drive Fords. They got their eco cars. They have on them hookah sneakers. They got their Tommy Hilfiger shirt. Like these people do not care. It's at that stage, just how much wealth can I keep? Not what can I spend on frivolous things. And so again, I had all of that inside of my career journey, and I just had to realize and understand what was real, what was not, what actually moves the needle, and what actually does not move the needle. All the while still being a good human, still being a good person, still showing up, regardless of people not wanting me in the room, still showing up regardless of people taking credit for my work, taking credit for my thinking, still showing up and still doing the job, and so, like I said, once you are confident and secure about who you are, there isn't much that can shake you. And that's where I sit. It's not much you can say to me. Like, I know that when I step in a room, change happens, things shift. I know that when I put my hands on a project, things happen, things shift. Like, I know when you bring me in the room, I know that I'm an added value, and I don't care who else is in the room. And so, that is how I show up. And it may be intimidated to some, but frankly, that's just not my problem nor responsibility. It has nothing to do with me. I show up in excellence. I show up in integrity. I show up in love, and I do the work.
Give me a second. I have to pick up that mic that you just dropped, because that was that was a gem. Certainly a lot to really kind of unpack as well. And I want to go back to a few things that you said, to dive into that a little bit deeper. You talking about, unfortunately, some of the issues that you've experienced with other Black women. That's not the first time that I've heard that. And anecdotally, I'm sure it's not the first time that many of the listeners of this podcast have heard that. From your perspective, what do you attribute that to?
It's a scarcity mindset. And it goes all the way back to, I'm not gonna have a slightly conversation, but it goes all into the mindset. Honestly, truly, that you got to be the only one, and nobody else can make it, and it has to be you. And when you get there, you gotta keep this balance. You can't do that. You can't have too many people are coming up in here, because now it's gonna be a whole black thing. Like it is systematically taught, if you will, that we have pretty much taken and carried it with it. Sometimes I just feel like we're still enslaved within the mind. Like, there is no longer handcuffs and things like that has to happen anymore. It's indoctrinated. And so I and also too, you have harm that has been done, and like you said, like, if you don't process it and grow through it, then that also means that you're also inflicting on hurt people, and it's the same exact thing. So well, I had to go through it, so they gonna have to go through it too. Well, I had to just shut up and just take it, so you gonna have to do the same thing too, right? It's the same philosophy, and it just continues to go and to go and to go. Or hey, I got my circle of people, and these are my circle, this is my clique, and we're not going to share anything else outside of our clique, because this is our, like, it is the same. That's what the white boys do. The white boys, they got their circles and whatever have you, so that's what they do. They get their money by themselves, and they don't let nobody else in. And so it's taught, it's systematic, it is bias as well, in there, unknown to some folks. They don't even understand that they are even doing it. They don't even understand that they're doing it. But that's what I attribute it to, and I try to make sure that I'm not perpetuating that same foolery, that I am not inside of those spaces. Like, I tell folks all the time, like, hey, like, if I see the same people over and over and over again, that ain't the room I need to be in. I need to see other people. I want to see other things, how the folks are processing, how the folks are working, other challenges that they have, like, even networking things and stuff like that. If I see the same people, I ain't going. It's nice to see you guys, but I want to meet new people, because that's what elevates my mind and my thinking and my circle, so that when I do come back and say, hey, like, do you know somebody who X, Y, and Z? You know what? I actually do. Like, let me, connect you to X, Y, and Z, because that's how you really and truly, can scale and grow and move up the ladder, or, land whatever role it is that you're trying to land, get the funding that you're trying to get to. But it's like, if you're only in Black spaces, right, for Black founders, you're only going to Black events, you only go to Black things or what have you, but we know statistically we don't even get 0.5% of funding that is out there. Where do you think it's going? If we only get 0.5% of funding, but you only go to only diverse events, right? Then that means that y'all are fighting for the same 0.5% of funding that's there. Go to other places. And I'm not saying not support, the Black ecosystem. That's not what I'm saying at all. But what I'm saying is that we can't be so in our mind that it's Black only, and that's like, that's just not the reality of where we live. That's just not the reality of how the world works or what have you. You got to open up your mind to other things. Yes, support your people. Yes, give back. Yes, once you get there, bring some more people along inside of these rooms as well. But I just don't get what the being exclusionary on either side of it, which is why, like I said, for my career, it's been white women that have really stood in the gap for me, if you will. And so yeah.
I mean, one of the fundamental things that we talk about at the Kulur Group is community drives reputation, which forms relationships, which ultimately drives revenue, right? And we certainly heard tenets of that in some of the things that you've been sharing. I want to go back to the integrity part, and I'm going to ask a very basic question that on the surface, you should instinctively be able to answer it, but sometimes you actually might have to think about it.
Mm-hmm.
And that question is, in the year of 2025, can you be successful having integrity?
Yeah, absolutely you can. Absolutely, you can. And I say that wholeheartedly because that's just the fabric of how I work. If you want to work with me in any shape, form, or capacity, if you do not have integrity, I can't do it. I don't care how much money it is. I don't care who gonna be there. I don't care what project X, Y, and Z. Like, you can't do it because I gotta be able to take that to the bank.
Yep.
And I have to be able to move inside of those spaces in that to where there ain't no fuckery happening, like, for lack of better words. Like, I just can't get jiggy with it. I'm, call it me being in my old age or whatever. Like, I don't know, but like, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. If it's harm to somebody else, to another group, or you jucking and jiving, you're not paying people and stuff like that. Like, I can't get jiggy with that. I don't care who you are. I don't care who you are. Like, you gotta have a code, and that's just my code. So yes, you can. And I have been successful in it. I continue to be successful in it because people know when they come to deal with me, they know what they're getting. They know exactly what it is. They know I don't play no games. I'm not going to lie to you about no foolishness. I'm not going to try to steal or take your money. Like, I operate in truth and in decency and integrity, and they know that. And that is my reputation. I don't. And I think you may, you may get whatever it is that you're trying to get operating out of that, but in the end, it's never what it is that you're supposed to be. And I know a man, who died for me, that says that, when I show up in ways, he will be able to supply all the things that I need to be able to operate in that. So, like I said, it's a code for me. It's a fabric of who I am. That's how I operate. And what you see pretty much is what you get.
1,000% on that last line. So do you think that there is a perception, because for a long time we've seen various different demographics operate without integrity, operate without ethics, right? And for whatever reason, they've been successful. I first and foremost do not subscribe to operating without integrity, operating without morals or ethics. But
it seems like they win it. It seems like they win it, right?
We do have a contingent of people who believe that innovation is a beautiful thing, but imitation is a lot faster, and sometimes will imitate that behavior.
Correct.
And put themselves in a situation where, now you're looking real suspect.
Correct.
And then you talk about, some of the issues that you've had with sisters, for lack of a better word, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, there sounds like there were some integrity-based issues.
Absolutely.
There, right? Is that the challenge? Is that one of the biggest challenges for the next generation of women leaders? Is to be able to stand on business with an integrity and still, shall I say, rise?
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. Because again, imitation, what you just said. People are seeing one thing, but listen, this is what I always say. My mom told me long time ago. Eventually, you're gonna have to pay Caesar what Caesar's due. Eventually, you're gonna have to pay the bill, right? It's gonna come. And I just feel like that, like, I don't do the, to get you back and, the pet. I don't do all those things because it may seem like they winning, but you don't know. Internally, God may be whooping their ass. And so just because we don't see the get back, just because we don't see it, don't mean that it ain't happening.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like you can't possibly think that you can be horrible to people and think that you're going to escape, or just because they didn't catch you, or just because they didn't see you. Don't, like, your life is in shambles. Your family life is in shambles. Your bank account is in shambles. Like, you cannot possibly go through this life and think that. And so it's the same thing. So like I said, like, God can get you back a lot quicker than I can. And it may not be today, it may not be tomorrow, it may not even be next year. But baby, the bill will come due.
Mm.
And it's not my responsibility to make you get the bill quicker. It ain't my responsibility to, to go and, well, let me tell you so I can block you to get, like, that's not my responsibility. That is not my responsibility to do that. Now, if you call me and ask me for a reference or something, I'm gonna be honest and be like, nah, that I'm gonna do. I ain't gonna lie for you. But I'm not going to, take food out of somebody's pocket or whatever. Like, I just don't operate in that way. And I think that, the millennials that are coming up behind us, they're gonna have some choices and things to make. It's almost like, that reckoning that white women are having by themselves because Black women, we at home, and it's literally get somebody else to do it because it won't be us. And it's like, at some point you gotta bring yourself to the mat and to the carpet to have your own realizations and things. And we are in the fucking around and find out phase of a lot of things that's going on right now.
Big emphasis on finding out, literally.
Yes, yes. And I'm just like, hey, like, you got that. You got that, because I do not. So yeah, like, they're gonna have to find out. They're gonna have to figure it out. They're also gonna have to figure out that, hey, social media is not real, people. Twitter is not real. I promise you, y'all are talking in a bubble. You are in this, this thing talking back and forth to each other. Go outside and touch grass, because it is real outside. And you need to figure out what those things look like outside of the bubbles that you live in.
Mm-hmm. Well, one thing that is real is that you clearly are a dope thinker. That's certainly been on display through these first 32 minutes. And so I want to pivot a little bit. Obviously, as I referenced earlier, you were named as one of the top 25 dope thinkers to watch for 2025. Actually hand selected by yours truly. And I want to first and foremost, for those who may not be familiar with how we define what a dope thinker is, that's someone who's elevating categories, products, people, and culture through the lens of diverse and inclusive intelligence. And Aniesia Williams has certainly had that on display thus far. I want to flip this question to you. First and foremost, name me 3 of the dopest thinkers you know, and why.
So one, a really, really good friend of mine, his name is Walter Hughes. Walter is under 40. He has sold and exited multi-million-dollar company. He has worked at, some of the largest healthcare systems in the country, Meta, like all the things. And he is one of the dopest people that I know, because he is so open. He's like a sponge, so open as a sponge. He has a PhD and he's just smart as hell. And I love having conversations with him, about the world, about, what generational wealth looks like differently that it looked like for our parents and things of that nature. And we're always just talking about how we can change the world and what that looks like. So he's one of the dope folks that I know. I would also say Everett Taylor. He is the CEO of oh my gosh, of it's the place where you can raise funds, not crowdfunder, oh my gosh, you can do crowdfunding, and there's a platform that you can do it out of. Kickstarter. Yes, that's it. Kickstarter. I met Everett when Everett was the CMO of Sticker Mule in LA years and years and years ago. And I was working with him with some things, and I knew then that he was going to be this dynamic person. He has persevered, he has gone through trials, he has done all the things, and yet he still stands in his truth and in his space, and is a good human. The way that he thinks and processes is unlike any other, which is why you've seen him rise and have, been CEO of a lot of different things and stuff like that. But I love to see him now standing in his power and standing in who he is, because I knew that this is where he would be, and I knew that his journey would be a very interesting one. And I'm so super proud of him. But he is like one of the smartest people, dope folks that I know.
Okay. Who's your third?
Um, hmm. Third. Hmm. Um, Probably I would have to say, her name is Ashley Sims. She's the CEO of Build in Tulsa.
Hmm.
And what she has been able to do to bring awareness to Tulsa, Black Wall Street, and to be able to vitalize whole communities, and to be able to shape the way that the world sees Tulsa, and how you can actually build there and have resources there and have community there, has been nothing short of amazing. Not only are we colleagues, but we're also good friends as well. And it's like whatever she's doing, whatever she's building, I'm always like, yo, like I'm there. Like, what do you need? And how can I be able to push that through? She raises millions of dollars philanthropically as well, for founders to bring them to Tulsa to help them to build and to incubate the things that they are building as well. But she's just a dynamic woman that shows up every day, that are fighting for folks that look like us inside of, Tulsa is still very much so um, colorful. I'll say that. But she's fighting that fight every day, and I just have so much respect for her, of what she's done and what she's accomplished. And everywhere she goes, everybody flocks to her like crazy. Like, everybody always wants to get some of her time. But she's just a good human being, but she's just a dope human being. And I think that the way that she's been able to build Tulsa is a blueprint for other cities, if you will, rural cities like that, as well.
Okay. Well, we're going to wrap up this episode very shortly, but before we do, I want to close out with these last few questions. Number one, what would you define your superpower as?
My superpower is I am a people person. And so I'm the person that you want in the room. Being able to cultivate relationships is something that I do with ease. And sometimes you don't understand it until you see it and you're like, oh, that's it. Like, that's it. Like, and I need that. But yeah, I am a master cultivator of people and of rooms.
Got it. How do you see the world in color?
How do I see it in color? I dream in color. I always have. I used to, in the second grade, I was reading, at a sixth grade level, I was reading, novels, 400-page books, without pictures. And so I always created my own world, and what it looked like, and in color. So I I show up in that way. I'm a creator as well. So I always see things in color, not in black and white. And, I color outside the lines.
You color outside the lines. Well, then, what is your
Absolutely.
favorite? What is your favorite color?
My favorite color is it's a tie. It's a tie between pink and purple.
Okay. Okay. All right,
Mhm.
Aniesia Williams, communicator. I'm sorry, community builder, creator, and experience facilitator. Certainly, those are three things that have continuously
Yeah.
um, been prevalent throughout this conversation. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. If people want to kind of connect with you and learn more about dreambloc, how can they do that?
Yep. So I am Anicia on all platforms. You can also go to dreambloc.com, no K, just a C, as well. But yeah, like I said, I am Anicia on every platform. That's where you can find me.
All right, Aniesia Williams, ladies and gentlemen, top 25 dope thinkers for 2025. This is Nicholas Love. Certainly have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation of another edition of With Love. And with that being said, we're out.